up in a way. I ain't Superman, I ain't bulletproof. I'ma tell the truth, I be just like you.
All right, so my whip lights I did not run to a relay. And what I did was I used my power from my battery voltage and USB charger to power the whip lights. So it's coming from here over to here, got the ground from here. My whip lights ground I tied into this ground, the same ground that I'm using for my fog lights. And yeah, we're about to test it out, see if it works. All right, so the switch definitely has power. We're about to see if the lights turn on. There we go. Now what I'm hearing in my speakers, I'm not sure. But it's probably because something's touching down here that needs to be adjusted. But whip lights are working. Well, it's when I turn them on that I'm hearing something in my speakers. I don't know if that's because it's Bluetooth or if there's something more to it. But whip lights are currently working. So I'm just test fitting this battery isolator, smart battery isolator. I got, so the way it works is on the bottom, it'll tell you which one's which one's your start battery, which one's your auxiliary battery. You run your main power to your battery and then into your auxiliary battery, or into the main battery on here, and then out from your auxiliary battery over to there, and then same. This one doesn't light up or anything, so I have no clue if it's working, but I assume it's working. Now, when I turn my lights on and off, you don't hear it make any noise anymore, so that's good. So maybe it has something to do with the power being on. But yeah, everything's working. Whip lights are working. All my lights, my fog lights and headlights and whatnot is all working. We got our freaking bright roof lights. We got our side lights. We got our fog lights, which are currently have covers on them, but they're right there. I believe they're working. The cover's on, so I can't tell. Let's see. Let's take a cover off real quick. Let's double check. Make sure everything's still working. Bear with me. There we go. Yeah, fog lights are working. Whip lights are working. I currently have these unplugged, but I guarantee you these are working too. So our headlights and whatnot. Our reverse lights are working for some reason, so I don't know if I'm in reverse or no, those are running lights, right? Yeah. When I'm pressing the brake, I should get, I don't know, but they're on. Yeah. So everything's working. Cool. Running the night, we have our smart battery switch set up. I just need to figure out the wiring and everything. That fuse box is done. We got to start on this fuse box. This wiring is basically done. The headlights that I bought, they look really cool, but the problem is they were backwards. So like the bright switch over there would trigger the regular beam would trigger the brights, and the brights would trigger the low beam. And so I actually cut the connector, and I'm gonna add in some connectors, and then I'm gonna cut this connector and add in some like male receptacles, and these will have females, and then I'll be able to connect it like that and get it right. So it's supposed to go like yellow to yellow, green to green, black to black, but when you do it that way, it's backwards. So you have to go yellow to green, green to yellow, black to black, and then that way you have it right. But where they're at, it's just kind of difficult to crimp on this stuff, so I'm probably gonna have to take the headlight off and then crimp them on both sides and then put it all back together after that. But other than that, all the wiring is done. All my fog lights are working correctly, my stereo is working correctly, the whip lights are working, everything's working. So obviously we've got to clean up all this wiring. I have it running through here, which I know the drive shaft is right there, but it's going to get zip tied up through here and put through a some wire wrap. So it'll basically just be like, you know, one wire zip tied up here. It's ran down and then up through here, and then up that, and I'm going to run some cable tie in there, and then it's all ran underneath here, which I'll clean up as well. Get it all zip tied up there. The lights back there are ran just straight underneath the ground and then up. Still got to do the snorkels. I still got to paint the bed. Yeah, the bed hasn't been painted yet, so to match the nice plastics and stuff, I got to paint that. I do have a new undercarriage, stainless steel, which will go under to replace the plastic, keep everything nice and protected. I do need to change the spark plugs, but I have done an oil change, all that stuff like that, so that is done. I also have 3 gauges I want to install. One is a temp gauge, one is a fuel pressure gauge, and one is a battery gauge. So those are 3 gauges I want to install. They're all digital. Bought them on Amazon, based off of some dude who did his off of Amazon, and it looked awesome. So that is where we're at. But all right, guys, thanks for following along. So I've been cleaning up cables today, trying to get that little clean, running some wire loom, and then I got the front bumper fully mounted with the screws, and I fixed the cabling down here so all the headlights work. And then I did a little 2-inch hole, added this, crimped it into the starter or the key ignition. So whenever I turn the key, this turns on. We're gonna end up having 3 gauges here. 1, 2, 3. This is our volt, our battery gauge. Check that crap out. Look how dope that looks. Looks so good. God, that looks so good. Then we'll have a gauge here, and then our winch switch here. So it looks so far. And it takes a second for it to turn off. Here it goes. Come on. Here we go. I've currently just been putting random holes, honestly. But the idea is exactly like this. It's a panel, right, with the holes for rivets. And you can just cut the hole as big as you need it, because this panel will just go right over it. You know what I mean? So basically the panel's going to go here. I'll cut out most of this middle section, and then the panel goes over it. Same thing here. The panel will go here. Mine's a little difficult to get measurements because this is the door hanger. It's current setup. So positive, negative to my fuse block, positive, negative down the bottom. And my negative melted a second ago, so I put a new connector on. And everything was running for like maybe 10 minutes, and it melted that connector. So I'm not 100% sure why. On this one, on my auxiliary, I have my fog lights, my side mirror lights, and my roof lights running right now. And it's melting the battery cable. Is it because the cable's too thin of gauge? But if I go thicker, I don't think it will connect here. But I mean, I could try. What do you guys think? So I've done a lot of work without recording anything. Got this mounted. It's 3 bolts on this side, 3 bolts on the other side, and then 2 bolts down in there. I probably end up painting those bolts. Also have my fog lights mounted. I ended up using the old fog light bracket to make it fit a little bit better, and had to use 6 washers. I need to paint that. I'm installing the winch as we speak. Little word of advice, put that on first because it's kind of hard to fit it on this plate after the fact. So I'm currently about to try to get these wedged in there so I can screw it all on. But yeah, I mean, we're getting there. So I have the wild Boar front bumper, and it's where you mount your winch right onto it. Now I got the Badlands Apex long barrel, and the only way for this one to sit right, so 3 holes lined up perfectly, 1 hole didn't, so I literally had to drill a new hole for this to fit, and all I did was use the base plate that it came with. And then I don't know if you can see this, but I used some I didn't use any washers because the screws weren't long enough, but I just went right into the thing like that. So I mean, it looks good. Hopefully it works good. We'll see. So the winch works. The only problem is these 2 switches, winch in is on top, winch out is on bottom. On the one it came with, winch out is on top, winch in is on bottom. And so this is technically reversed, so I got to figure out how to flip it. If anyone has any ideas, let me know. But otherwise, I don't know. I'll have to figure it out. All right, so I've added in the higher gauge cables to the fuse box. And I got the whip lights. Everything's LED. These are on. This is all LED, and the fog lights all running. Just to kind of see if it catches on or if it melts or what ends up happening. So we shall see here shortly. The last time it took just a couple minutes, so we'll see.